The most common type of knife attack you're going to run into is a low-line thrust, essentially somebody who's thrusting straight into your lower abdomen. This has been shown time and time again in videos of people who've actually been attacked. You'll also see that medical studies that show the common locations of stab wounds or knife wounds in any type of felonious attack, this is typically where they end up being concentrated. So you need to have a good response against that type of attack. What we do, one of the responses that we include is what we call Palisut. So Palisut comes from the Filipino martial arts. It's something that I adapted into martial blade concepts, or MBC. And what we do is we take kind of the end of that particular motion. So we'll focus on the technique first, then we'll show you a drill that allows you to really get lots of repetitions to be able to work this in. So first of all, the attack, Thane is coming straight up center line, going to stick me in the lower abdomen. When he comes in this way, what I need to do, anything that I do as far as footwork is going to be slow and inefficient. I can't guarantee that I'm going to have the traction that I need or the room to move. So the easiest thing, you'll hear in a lot of cases the idea of moving off the X, and I'm trying to move my body. When his arm is moving fast and I have to move my whole body, it's an inefficient way to solve the problem. A smarter thing to do is to simply deflect his arm and move it offline. So even if he's following through and trying to stick me here, if I deflect this and move this, now he's stabbing the air next to me. So what I'm doing is a downward motion of my arm, basically articulating from the elbow, coming in a downward circle this way. And I'm using the outside of my wrist to be able to deflect his arm. So that's the initial motion. From there, what I want to be able to do is follow up. So this is simply an impact. I'm not doing anything with the knife. I'm not taking away any of his capacity to be able to target me. So what I need to do is now apply the knife in such a way where hopefully I can stop the attack and get that stopping power. So when he thrusts, I hammer this down. Now I'm bringing my left hand in. I'm going to lift his elbow. This keeps me to the outside of his body, keeps me away from his left hand, and it's also going to expose his armpit. So now as I step forward and thrust into the armpit here, what I'm really going after is all the nerves in the armpit that allow his brain to control his arm. I thrust into the armpit here, track down his body to make sure I don't cut myself, thrust to the inside of the leg, and then cut the quadricep muscle. If you've seen any of the other videos in this series, what you're noticing is, again, a lot of common ground as far as the targeting that we focus on. Typically, first target, second target. The third target is always that quadricep muscle, taking away his mobility, dropping him, and being able to get to safety. So again, when he thrusts, I hammer down, I lift, step forward and thrust. It gets me in nice and close to him, away from his left hand, track down, thrusting in and cutting here, and that is the beginning of my move to safety. So if we put these pieces together, let's take a look from the other side. So again, on the initial thrust, I hammer this down, deflect his arm off this way. My left hand comes in, lifts his elbow, and at the same time, notice how I'm walking in. My elbow's tight to my ribs, so this thrust is not just an independent motion of my arm, it's actually my whole body driving with power here. I track down his body, thrust to the inside of the leg, and cut here. One more time slowly. Hammer, lift, step forward, thrust, track down, thrust, and cut. We put it together. Very quick, very powerful technique. Now what we want to do, let's do again, please. What we want to do when you train, you need to be able to create some kind of intensity in your training. You need to be able to challenge yourself so you have the reflexes to be able to do this on demand. Well, we have what we call reflex training drills or flow drills. In this case, what we have is a drill called the Palisut drill. What will happen, Thane comes in angle 1 here, he attacks here, I'm checking with the back of this arm, and now this is that downward circular motion of my arm. I'm actually covering this angle, and all the way down to the bottom motion here of that low line thrust. So what you get is check. I would pass this here, practice lifting that elbow. And now what I'm doing is going straight to the leg, coming back and picking up the tricep so I can feed him. He does the same motion. Check, pass, cut, and check. So what we're doing is all the critical movements, all the components of the technique, we're including those in a drill that allows us to not only get in lots of repetitions, but also to make it scalable as far as the intensity of our motions. It becomes cardiovascular. It also has a high degree of performance anxiety. So now the adrenaline starts to flow and you practice using your skills with that adrenal vehicle. And by having that type of challenge, by having that type of intensity, but still maintaining a high level of skill, that's what will give you the skill you need when you need it most.